When I work, I focus best with this sound. The only problem is, it almost never rains when I need it. So I started wondering, how can I bring real rain sound into my workspace? Sure, I could play one of those rain playlists, but they always sound artificial. You can hear it's coming from a speaker. I wanted actual rain, not a recording, real, natural raindrops. So I decided to build my own rain. Or more precisely, a machine that makes real rain. But how do you actually make rain? In nature, that's the job of the clouds. But clouds don't really fit inside my workspace. So I had to come up with a system that could create real raindrops and recycle the water at the same time. Sounds complicated, right? I tried to keep it as simple as possible. And that turned out to be the hardest part. The most important part of this entire build is the sound. Everything stands or falls with how the rain sounds. So that's where I started, with the system that creates the drops themselves. I tried a lot of things. Different surface textures, different materials, different hole sizes. Each one changes the rhythm of the rain. Some made sharp, tiny splashes. Others sounded too heavy, more like a faucet. But one of them, the simplest setup, sounded surprisingly natural. Exactly like this. It's strange. You spend hours tweaking every detail, and in the end, the most basic version feels the most real. If you've got an idea to make it even better, let me know in the comments. I might build it into version 2. To hold everything together, it also needed a proper support structure and of course, a basin for the drops to fall into before they're pumped back up again. I designed it so that the pump and the basin are completely separated. One tube draws the water from the basin and the other pushes it back up to the top. Now that the heart of the system works, it needs a continuous flow of water. That's where this little pump comes in. It's nothing special, just a small DC pump you can get for a few dollars. But it's kind of the heartbeat of the whole build. Quiet, steady and constant. It pulls the water back up from the basin, so the rain never really ends. A small loop of gravity and motion, running endlessly in circles. To make the drops sound the way they should, they need a bit of distance to fall. That's what gives each droplet its rhythm, its weight, when it hits the surface. Since I wanted the rainmaker to live on a desk or a nightstand, I used solid oak dowels to connect the upper rain system with the lower reservoir. The wood adds warmth and natural contrast to the printed parts and gives the structure just enough height for the rain to sound alive. It's a small detail, but sometimes the smallest details change how everything feels. To keep everything clean and minimal, I milled a small channel into one of the oak dowels, just deep enough to hide the tube inside. That way, nothing distracts from the design. It just looks like a wooden frame and the water quietly runs through it. If you don't have access to a milling machine, I've uploaded a version on my Ko-fi that works without any milling at all. As you can already see, the lower part, the basin, is deep enough to create that natural, soft splashing sound. Underneath, I added a simple mount for the pump and the water lines that feed the system. There's also an opening on the side for the power connector and the on-off switch, so everything stays clean and accessible. Inside the basin, I added a removable PETG insert. That makes it completely waterproof, and it also allows me to swap out different designs to create different sound profiles. It's a small change, but it completely transforms how the rain sounds. I also thought for a while about adding an LED light, maybe a soft reflection through the water. I'm still not sure though, what do you think? After I was happy with all the individual parts, it was finally time for the exciting part, printing the final versions and putting everything together. The assembly itself is simple, but it does take a bit of care. First, the pump needs to be connected to the power supply and the on-off switch. I decided to solder the wires, but you can also use simple plug connectors if you prefer. All the wiring details can be found in the build guide on my Ko-fi page. Next, I cut the oak dowels to length. About 20 centimeters each worked best for me. Once that was done, everything could be assembled and pressed together. Once the wooden rods are in place, I attach the long tube into the holders at the top section. To make sure the water spreads evenly, I add small holes along the tube. Then, I install the rain module. To catch the falling drops properly, the PETG insert goes into the lower part and the intake tube is trimmed to length and connected. After that, I add a bottom plate and a few rubber feet for stability. Now it's ready to be filled. I pour in about 1/3 of the basin with water. Finally, I place the splash guard on top, which also helps shape the sound and keeps droplets from escaping. And with that, the assembly is complete. Now comes the moment of truth. I can't wait to hear what my Rainmaker actually sounds like. Let's test it. Wow, I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite projects so far. With just a few materials and a 3D printer, you can build a device that not only looks great, but actually helps you focus and be more productive. The only weak point right now is that when the Rainmaker runs for a longer time, a few drops manage to escape the basin. But I already have an update in mind, and I'll make it available on Ko-fi soon. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I can't wait to see your versions of it. Everything you need is linked in the video description, and make sure to follow so you don't miss the next project. After setting the Rainmaker on my desk, I realized it would look perfect next to a clean, minimalist clock, so that's exactly what I built in this next video.